production. Wow, that's like perfect timing. I'm sorry, you guys. Hello. I guess I should put on another song while I finish chewing. Let's listen to some of this. Hey Birdie, how's the audio? Can you hear the videos okay on my microphone? I'm gonna get one more espresso. Okay, this is just slamming. Let's see. Hey, everybody. Let's see. The video is good, though. Oh, let's Birdie. Maybe a tad quiet on the mic. Birdie, is the mic still a tad quiet? Or anybody listening out there? So you need to orient this. How's everybody doing? I'm feeling good. I'm just a little tired in the sense of exhausted. I woke up pretty early today and I got started on stuff pretty early. I got a lot of stuff done before 10 o'clock when I stopped for an early lunch. The least of the things that I did that's still really good is I descaled the espresso machine and I replaced the gasket on the group head for the portafilter. Where the portafilter goes into the espresso machine, I did this. I have the exact same model at my house in Pennsylvania. Charlie says the mic is okay. All right, cool. Thanks, everybody. And hey, everyone. Hey, ePilot. Let's see. Mic sounds good when the video isn't playing. All right, that's good. So I won't be able to talk over the video, and that's fine. Could use a slight compressor. I agree, Altacal. And thanks so much. Thanks for checking us out today. Welcome. Well, to all the new folks, I don't know if you are new or not, but my name is Dallas. Vietty is my last name. And I'm an accordion player and an accordion teacher. A couple of my specialties are like jazz music, and specifically the kind of jazz music that Django Reinhardt played and how French accordion players and others have played that music. I also love harmony, and I love all kinds of stuff. French waltzes. I love Brazilian music. I love American standards. I love folk music. I love all kinds of stuff. But just to introduce myself, in case you didn't know, today I'm in the Southern California desert, and it's getting hotter. What are we in? Late? We're past the middle of May here, and I'm gonna look at my weather app and see what the weather's going to be. High of right now it's 83 degrees, and it's going to be high of 85, and that's great. My best friend is coming out for the long weekend from Thursday to Tuesday. That's going to be really fun. He's going to stay here. He's going to do his own thing, photograph. We'll hang out. I told him he could use the car, but I got to finish up the shower. So the guy that I paid to install the shower did a shit job. Who would have thunk? And so I ended up having to take it out, tear down the drywall, cover up this window, all kinds of like stupid landlord stuff that I don't want to do. What's up, Mark Cordian? And you know, I'm kind of like, that's not my favorite thing to do, and I don't have any experience. I'm dragging my heels, not really dragging my heels, but just I could be working more efficiently. So with my friend coming and the shower being torn out, I kicked it into high gear kind of beginning of last weekend, over the weekend. So it's in there today. Let's see. No, last night I taped it and I mudded it. Today I sanded it. I wiped it down. I sprayed the orange peel kind of texture on the wall. And then after the live stream, I'll rest up. I'll change my clothes, and then I'll put a coat of paint on there. So it should be ready for Thursday. So that's cool. I did get a little bit of a chance to practice my accordion today. And over the weekend, I played a bunch. It's really coming along, the touch and all that sort of stuff. So that's really cool. Let's see. Other news. I cleaned up the espresso machine. That's great. I'm enjoying a delicious espresso. I think the gasket just helps the extraction be a little bit better. ePilot says the drywall work isn't bad, but it's tedious. I agree. It reminds me of like an arts and crafts project. Having been a renter in the Northeast for most of my adult life, I just, didn't do handyman stuff because you're renting an apartment. So why make things worse? I'm trying to get my security deposit back, but also I'm not trying to go above and beyond. So anyway, I'm learning to do all this stuff, and luckily I got some friends, and my dad has like all the tools in the world that you could possibly need. So that's cool. Let's see what else is going on. I started on a new tune that just popped into my head over the weekend called Nice Work If You Can Get It. That's a really great tune. I think it's a Gershwin tune. And that's a really fun one. It's just the chord changes to it. It's really cool. Definitely in swing accordion mode. Let's see. This coming weekend up here in the high desert Joshua Tree area, they're doing the Joshua Tree Accordion Festival, organized by Skylar Fell, I think is her last name, who has the Accordion Apocalypse repair shop that was originally in San Francisco. and I think she had always owned some property out here, and kind of, did a 2-city kind of thing. But then I think she's out there now for good, and she has a great repair shop and accordion sales, and she's organizing this festival. And she asked me to play it. I said I would love to, but I don't know what this is a few months ago. This is probably back in January. I said I don't know if I'm even going to be in the desert. Like, I would hate for you to put on my name on the poster, and then like I need to be back east for some reason, so I passed on it. But I happen to be around, and honestly, most of the people I don't know, so that'll be really fun. That tells me that it'll probably be accordion music and styles that I don't regularly tune into. Kind of worlds of accordion that I don't necessarily aren't on my like laser focus, and that's very cool. I'm excited about that. What else am I thinking about? What else am I doing? I don't know. Kind of just more chord stuff. I don't know. I'm not really warmed up. And also, you guys, I'm sure you know this. I just spent a long time with I worked on a door. The door to this bedroom, my dad had cut out a dog door, and I bought a slab door to try to fit it to size, and was just all wrong. Like, the middle of the door wasn't going to match at all. I'm like, I don't know. This sounds like a thing where, like, if you do one part of like putting a new door on a room, like, because you got to miter it and stuff, and you have to trim it down the width and then the height, and like it just seemed like too much for me. So I was like, you know what, I'm gonna look up if I could just patch the middle of the doors. It's a small dog door, but still a dog door. And so I filled it like with wood. I don't know. I just kind of tried to fill it up inside because it was a hollow core door, just with like corrugated cardboard in the middle. And then I used Bondo, which I've never used before, but it seemed to make sense to me, because like Bondo is designed to like move, because a car, I was thinking of it as like, if I use like drywall mud, that's not going to work at all. That's, and it's like, so this idea of Bondo, so I'm playing around with Bondo, and man, does that stuff smell like it's going to like kill you. That Bondo smells, it smells like if you had like 1,000 like permanent markers open in a tiny closet and you were there with it. It smells so crazy chemical toxic. So I did it outside. Well, I did the Mondo inside, but with the garage door open, and then I sanded it down, and that took like forever because I just like slathered the Bondo on. And this is accordion related, I promise. In that, holding that vibrating sander, I don't know. I wonder like how my hand's gonna want to touch. I like wasn't gripping it hard, because that just ruins your sandpaper if you do that with that kind of sander. It just rips. But still, hanging on to that thing. So that's kind of interesting. But I do. Should I just fool around a little bit? Maybe. I don't know. I have not been taking things through 12 keys, but I have just been trying to play through tunes, which has been very cool. So let's see, Birdie or anybody, whoever's first to the draw here, let me know. Let's see, that shouldn't be on. We got a blue light. Oh yeah, this is unmuted. I just can't tell because I don't get any monitor from this thing. So did they. So Birdie, you're saying the accordion sounds okay? Let's see. I'm down to one room for my studio here and my bed, and I don't want you guys to see my unmade bed. Okay. The rest of the house is not really a construction zone, but it has stuff all over the place. Now let's see. We started on C, so it's going to go to D. And then let's see, we're on 3/6. That's too low. It's too down low. See, now this is a good teaching moment or sharing moment too. Is I like the melody here. Stroll. It's kind of how I'm hearing it, you know. But the way the melody just keeps going down and down. By the time I have to harmonize this, I don't know the lyrics. Strolling something at midnight. It's such a cool tune though. No, yeah. When I get to this B, which is just below middle C, which should be fine, but I need to harmonize it with the D7, and that doesn't sound good at all. And you know, another thing, I need to use more air here. And air and touch are the name of the game with me lately, you guys. So we got to do it up here. Let's see, that should have been a 6. Da, da, da. I kind of like it down here too. And I'm not super familiar with it yet. I've just kind of been rattling through the A section. That's easy enough to do in any key. It starts, whatever key you're in, the tune starts on the 3 dominant, and it just goes down in the circle of fifths and dominants. So you have E7, if you're in the key of C, like I just did it in the key of C, to A7, to D7, to G7, to C7, to F7. So you go all the way down, and then you jump up to D7, and then D sharp diminished. And then you're at a 3-6. Nice work. Oh, that's what this is. It should be sus. Yeah. So there I'm making a sus chord with my left hand, G on the bass, F major. And that, I don't believe that that's what was going on when Gershwin wrote this tune, because I must be kind of hearing it wrong, or maybe it's a quick 2-5 or something. I don't know. Just because I don't think Gershwin used sus chords like that, but it works with the melody and it sounds right with the harmony. And then it goes, I don't know the bridge, but it goes to like the relative minor. It goes kind of A minor and F7. And then it kind of turns itself around to get back to the key of C major. And that's what's going on with that. Then I know the other thing that I've been doing is I've been working on the touch a lot, as I've been talking about for months now. And I have this great accordion yoga class where we're working on the air and the touch and the control and all that sort of stuff for your technique. And I've been doing stuff where these really simple, not abstract, but very, very targeted, like exercises where I'm kind of targeting in for tension. For a while now, I've been really trying to notice any tension in my body and relax it. And that has helped me immensely. And then that got in my head, I don't know, 6 or so, or maybe even a year ago, probably like 6 months ago or something. I was like, you know what? I'm really going to work on all this stuff that Natalie Bouchek's told me in our private lessons when I asked her, hey, what am I not getting about this? I think I'm understanding it, but I can't do it. And she said, well, you need to work on your air and you need to work on your touch, and then you're going to be able to do all this stuff. So and I said, well, okay, how do we do that? So then I got these lessons, and that's been just killer. So that's what I'm doing, but I can't help but do it my way. You know, I don't know how many of you guys are like that with me. So I've been really noticing that my wrist is a culprit for a lot of the tension that I'm feeling. Because I have been like, at first I just thought, okay, I'll do like, I remember in college, my piano teacher, she was the first person that ever, oops, sorry, the cable pulled out of the accordion. Watch your ears, folks. I'm going to plug it straight back in. All right, there we go. Sorry about that. Anyways, she is the one that showed me drop your arms, drop out the tension, drop your arms. And then she had this beautiful technique of dropping your body weight onto the piano, which was super cool. Her touch was killer. And she was the first person that I ever heard these ideas that are Pablo Casal's style ideas. She was the first person that ever told me that. Anyway, I'm reminiscing. But so I'm keying in on relaxing my wrist, and with that, I'm telling myself that my wrist and my shoulder are connected. And I'm doing it's such like a self-help thing, but it's fun. It seems to be working. When something's like challenging, especially challenging in a way that I'm like, I'm getting tired doing this, because this way of using a lot of air all the time is very active. Like it's what is the word? Uh you really use a lot of energy, doing it. Anyways, I've been telling myself, okay, the way through this is to relax through it, and I'm going to try to relax my shoulder, specifically my left shoulder and my left wrist, or my right shoulder, my right wrist. I'm really like telling myself that they need to do the same thing at the same time. I don't know if I'm the only person like this that kind of feels their body like this. I don't know if this is like a weird thing, but it's just kind of how I approach my body in various things. I guess this way of approaching the accordion, I'm thinking a lot about my body as well as the sound, right? But I'm following a sound. I'm noticing my body isn't quite doing it right, and then so I'm adjusting it kind of that way, right? Like that's you're after this sound, this feeling, this je ne sais quoi, and then practice is the act of what? What is practice? I would say practice, to define it. Practice is the art of repetition of targeted principles in order to improve and in order to build muscle reflex. That's what I would say. Yeah, that's my good definition for that. So if I'm practicing and I'm following that thing and I notice that my body is getting really tense or just doesn't seem to have the control, right? Or something's not right, then I go in there and I can be really specific. And I'm far enough along on my own little journey of practicing all this stuff that it's not nearly as exhausting as when I started it. And and I'm just going deeper and deeper, And so the new thing, I guess, over the weekend, which is so silly, but it's the master switch. Because I have been playing, the music. I've pretty much only been using the bass piano register, which is the register that I think we use the most in jazz. I would describe the bass piano register. Not every accordion has it, too. In fact, a guy I know has one, and he's almost ready to get rid of the accordion because it doesn't have that register. And I don't think he realized that when he purchased it. Because I'm not sure it's a thing that I would check, Now I would, but before then. Anyway, the bass piano register is does not have the high set of reeds in it, the highest set of reeds, usually, if you have an accordion that has many left-hand register switches. By the way, they bass piano is like a terminology, it's probably from the golden age. There's also a forte piano. I think that might be the master switch, might be forte piano. I'm not sure who coined these terms. I would love to know. I wonder if up at Potosa they know. There's a great Potosa left-hand handout that is good kind of for it gives you a visual of like what you're hearing, which is really, really cool. It kind of has multiple stabs, almost like a choir score or whatever. And then it stacks the notes and you can kind of visualize what you're hearing, two of the same note or octaves or 3 octaves, 4 octaves, whatever. Anyways, the point is I'm playing. I realized that these musettes, I should be playing them on master switch. What have I been doing? What have I been doing, guys? And I think one of the reasons is the furthest I've gone on style of musette and sound of musette is with Jacques and Natalie. And those, I think I've done all of that stuff on Freebase, and Freebase does not have a master switch like that, like I could have octaves or whatever. So it's kind of irrelevant. And anyways, I'm just kind of figuring out Charlie says the accordion sounds a little thinner than usual. Okay, let's... Charlie, I just turned a knob up all the way. Thank you for that. Okay, now it's clipping. It's probably, thanks for that tip, it's probably clipping because I'm using the master switch. Okay. There. Okay, so the bass, I'm trying to really get, as I have been told, not just by Jacques and Natalie, but also by Fred Deschamps, the bass needs to go all the way down, right? Or I think at least almost all the way down. And then the chords need to be very short. And what I mean by short is a very superficial depression. I just press the chord button down a little bit, but the bass buttons, and that's, yo, you guys, it's hard enough to play these musettes. Like, that wasn't a musette, that was a waltz, but it's hard enough to play the musettes in the right hand, let alone get your brain thinking all the way down, and don't just yank the finger off. It requires a lot of practice. It requires a lot of time building reflex. Reflex meaning to make things automatic, to make things happen in a beautiful way, the correct way, right? You want the correct form, but automatically. I have a different descending bass here. I figured out that sometimes when you're looking for reharmonizations on a minor tune, especially like a musette, it seems to work a lot. If the harmony is like an E minor, on the left hand of the accordion, I can play a C sharp, which is really neat because if I'm trying to make all these cool bass lines that are ascending, right? Like Bertie Wooster was just doing style musette, and style musette does this ascending bass line from the 1 to the 4, which happens like all over the time. So we're going from the E minor to the A minor. Right, you just are going around the counterclockwise in the circle of fifths. But I could start here and get different movement. Where do I go to? Up. So the real one for the trio ascends. That's what Joe Privat wrote as a bass line. So it's the chords are moving. It's E minor, D7 over F sharp, G major over G, F major over A. Let me put it in the pinky. E minor, D. Well, yeah. D7 over F sharp, G major over G, F major over A. Usually play like a E minor over B, and then an E minor over B7, and then repeat it again. But I figured out this other one. I actually composed this on the freebase, but so it starts on this cool substitution, which is, I love finding it as a substitution because I'll use that as, that's the sixth, the natural sixth, as a bass line. What's that? That's one of them. I was just trying to play these very cool. It just creates this like wonderful, it totally fits the harmony of an E minor or any minor. You just use the sixth, and it's like super funky. So for this, so instead of ascending, I'm descending, starting on the C sharp. I got to do here. So I can descend the whole way. E minor over G, which my brain doesn't want to go to. And then E. And like, this is where I want to have a better command of the scale. Because it's like I kind of know what's happening. I like all my mind kind of goes blank. Like I can see the scale, and I don't know, it's hard to describe. Like it's like two patterns, because the stradella of the left hand is weird. It's a weird note layout for melodies. It is not linear. And so then the descending scale, C sharp, C, B, A, and then like when it goes to the G, all of a sudden, like my brain goes, what? Where are we? And it's just because that isn't automatic yet, right? Like, so again, and then and that is supposed to go over I don't have it down the left hand yet, or the right hand. That's supposed to go over this cool variation. Shoot. Sorry, guys. It's getting sloppy. And then I already did that part. So now we have to go to the trio. The trio, I love going to the sound of the bassoon. That is something that Joe Privat does kind of throughout his career. When he goes to the trio, he switches to a bassoon register. Not all of the music do that, but it became a thing. You listen to the other guys. Marcella Zola will do it a lot too. I like to do it. And I like to harmonize this one. I really want to work out drop two voice things. So the melody unharmonized. Very simple. And then you can do a scale. And with the left hand. Now, in closed position, I can do it. But I'm finding that it doesn't, the bassoon is not fitting in this context. Doesn't fit well with the master switch. So I want to work on moving both hands. So put the left hand on bass piano. Right? If I did the same, that's with bass piano, and to me it sounds balanced and perfect, and it's also like a big or it's a timbral change, whether an audience listening would notice or not, they would feel it. You know, it changes the vibe. We go from more overtones to fewer overtones, essentially. And also, you could say our range gets a little bit lower. But with the master switch, to me, it just doesn't sound right. It doesn't really sound that bad, but this is with the bass piano. Yeah. I should go. Sorry. I'm being super bad. I knocked out the cable again. Hang on a second, guys. Mute channel 3. Here we go. Okay. Okay. Should jump in. So the drop 2 voicing, I was talking to Frank Petrilli, and he reminded me. He's like, oh, yeah, you know, Frank Morocco would always talk about the best voicings on the accordion are fourths and drop 2s and stuff. So if I did that, I just slowly sort of played through it a couple times. I haven't started really practicing it in earnest. But so this E major 6, that C sharp would drop down here. Isn't that beautiful? Ah-dee-do. Where would that go? Gorgeous. And then back to either one of these is great. And then I wouldn't even try for a fast, but it would be cool. It would be neat to have a harmonized run really quick eventually, you know. Like when I'm arranging when I'm arranging, it's a creative process. So you're listening for ideas, and the ideas that I know, like that's a cool idea. I want to work towards that, but that ain't going to happen this week or this month or next month. But, you know, you just try to contain and go, oh, hey, that's like a bigger goalpost that I'm headed for. Let me keep kind of slowly working on things. And I love a good, like, of my practice, I like most of it to be not too hard, like things that aren't so far out, you know, things that are closer, that sound good or get better. And then I do things that are like real slow. A similar one for quick chord movement. I actually haven't done this in a little while, but I was spending a lot of time. I want to get back to it. Is there's an ending in Django music, just like that, and it's kind of the minor swing ending and all the other tunes. It gets done on because, as Jonathan Green, the clarinet player, said, it's pretty lazy in the endings. Not Django, but pickup jazz gigs. You take let's see. So I played around with various different kinds of ways of harmonizing this, and it sounded best. It seemed to work best like on a Django gig. If I keep all of I'm going to harmonize this. Almost all of them, I'm going to make them the major 6. So A major 6, A flat major 6, A major 6, B flat. Except for the second to last one, diminished. And then this one's going to be diminished to the 5. So the D sharp diminished going to E7. And that one's not a drop. It's a drop 2, not a close position. Shoot. Yeah, so, but it's going to have to have an is how it's going to have to be. And it's nowhere near that. But that's like a long-term thing. But anyway, these big, I think the drop 2s are going to sound so cool. And I was even thinking, I'm having camera issues, of the strolling. That one might be a good candidate. You got to start on E7. If I just kind of drop 2 like that, or even if I tried to fill it in more, what would I do if it was closed? That's what I would be doing. How cool is that? I didn't even realize it. And then, or could that be a yeah, why not? That's so neat. I only am now realizing these are just going down chromatically. So you get like an well, how neat. Okay. So anyways, drop to the master register. The other thing with the master register, I'm like, okay, what else can I do with this? And thinking about a solo set that has a variety of things, like what's to me, and I learned this specifically from the band leader, Barry Warhoftig of the Hot Club of Philadelphia. But he really shared a very simple idea about creating a set list, for his gigs. I think we talked about it because I started getting my own gigs and hiring him, and he, just put his 2 cents in on the set list, which needed it. It was real unbalanced. But like when I'm constructing a set list now based on this, I really think about a variety of tempos in order, not just in the set, but also one thing to another thing to another thing. So if you start out with, with something, do you start out something up and then you go to something medium and then you go to something that's a different kind of a groove, right? So for me, I play so much of the gigs that I do are swing music. So it's like maybe you start with kind of an up swing tune, and then you do more of a medium one that's kind of more happy or something less intense. And then maybe you do a different kind of a groove. So we're at song 4. So maybe it's like a bossa nova or some other kind of thing. Maybe it's a waltz, whatever. And then maybe you do back to swing, maybe another medium tune or something. And then around about the middle of the set, maybe you do a ballad, right? It depends on if your set has 1 ballad in it or 2 ballads, I would say. This is just kind of a general thing, you could shape it however your gig and band is, but it's good. So we're about at the middle set. We have a ballad. It's a nice like emotional release of all that stuff. And then it's almost like a palate cleanser. Then you can kind of start again. Do you start them after that with something up? Do you go something happy and light, or you go something darker and more intense? And then how you end that? And then what's the last song in your set? How do you want to leave them? Either the whole concert or the set. But I'm really following all these diversions today, taking a lot of little side paths, but just trying to swing this basically. So now it's like, to me, the alternating bass on swing doesn't work on the master switch. It like chokes. I don't get all the punch and drive that I want. When I do the Frank Morocco left hand, that on the masters or on the bass piano sounds great. Even that, it's just, I want it punchier. I probably should play a little bit more on the surface there. It starts to get a little blatty when I try to pull it bigger. So I'm like, okay, I want to start doing all my shedding on alternating bass too for these tunes. I don't want to be stuck in only being able to play well solo on the Frank Morocco style. I forgot. Okay. So on top of, so there, I'm trying to make melodies and movement. I'm trying to make, either angular movement or stepwise movement, things be interesting. I'm also really trying to get the sound of my basses to be nice and warm and full. And I'm also thinking about how I'm doing that. So I'm thinking about pressing all the way down and trying to release and getting nice air in the bellows. So I'm using tons of air there in the bellows the whole time. That way when you have air there ready to go, it really helps the beginning of your note, as long as your finger can, it's a both things make this happen. So the air is necessary, but still, just because you have the air, your finger still needs to press in the right way to make the correct sound, right? And then my left hand chords, I'm trying to keep them short and punchy and in a great groove. So what I'm finding then, when I combine these two, when I combine the bassoon, which I do want to do, and I have to pull so much. Making mistakes. That's all right. So anyway, what I'm finding out is that my right hand touch, I really need to work on it, because when I have this going, see, I can already hear that's getting a little gummed up. It's like there's something up with my lift that's not, it's like the fingers need to go down a little bit further because it's a bigger sound. I'm being more sort of declarative with the doors that open here, right? And then I'm not like, when I'm in my technique, it's like not sounding as articulated and clean and clear, because I think it's the release that I don't quite have for that deeper press. Yeah. So what was really helping me is the simplest exercise, which is improvising on roots, because then I can just really focus on keeping my accompaniment going and listening to the articulations of the notes. Right? Okay. Nobody wants to hear me solo on roots, but all those things, it's been very, very cool. And I think I have Vals de Niglos fully memorized now, I think. Maybe I'll perform this and then we'll move on to the next deal. And I don't have really any personal spin on it. I learned it because, well, I've been playing it for a while, but not by memory. It's Gusti Mali, who's a Romani composer and musician. troubleshoot. Sorry, guys. Nah. Shoot, my bass is a harmonized. So left hand, because I got to get back to that root. So, this is great to actually play. Hey, okay. Very good. You gotta practice your performance, right? So it's fun to find all the opportunities to perform stuff, and Tuesdays are one of those. So that's I didn't really plan on just kind of sharing all this stuff, but it's a nice week at the accordion with no real pressure to learn a whole bunch of material, like to cram, for upcoming gigs. Although I do have a bunch of good upcoming gigs. So that's what's cool on the master switch. Okay, so now on with the show. What we're gonna do now is we're going to check out a tune called Bossa Dorado, which I learned when I first started getting into gypsy jazz. Was just, and now we're gonna do Bossa Dorado. Like, oh, okay, how's this one go? You'll hear it. But it is a groove that I don't really know the history of, but the earliest version of this song that I found is from 1990, and I want us to watch it real quick. It's called a Gypsy Bossa, or a jazz manouche bossa, but it's not really a bossa nova. The rhythm does not have the parts of bossa nova, and I don't think that it's based on a bossa nova. So that's good to know, because if you do play bossa nova stuff over this, if you're in the pocket, it wouldn't be the worst thing in the world, but it's not really the right groove. This groove is super hard to do on the accordion, and I'm going to give you guys some ideas, but this is not my final word on the subject. I'll tell you that. I have much further to go in my own discovery of how to play rhythm accompaniment in this groove. And this way, if I ever had a lesson with Ludovic, which I'm sure I will someday, this is going to be what I'm going to ask him. Like, hey, can you show me some things to, like, if it was just me solo playing Bossa Dorado? Because Ludovic plays the shit out of this song. I've seen him play this song a bajillion times on the accordina at in New York City at Birdland, because he comes every summer, and he has for, I don't know, 2 decades, decade and a half, something like that. Long time. Anyways, let's check out Bossa Dorado. Yeah, that's the framing that I want. Okay, so we'll probably watch another video. This is from 1990, and the composition is called Bossa Dorado, and it's written by someone whose first name is Dorado Schmidt, of the Schmidt family. I believe his brother is Chavalo. I think that's his brother. I could be wrong on the heritage, though. Somebody, Charlie or Shay, I bet you guys will know. But Traveler Schmidt is another super famous musician of the same generation. Anyways, here we go. He's also the father of Samson. Feels like you're just okay, so that's E minor. But usually people play, in fact, I've only ever played this tune in D minor. So I don't know if it got moved at some point or if something's up with this recording. Anyway, that's cool. And I think that groove really, that tempo and that vibe where you feel like you're just chilling, like it almost has like kind of a slack key Hawaii vibe, like almost something about kind of getting ukulele like strummies, I don't know, but it's very chilled out. And I think at that tempo the groove works. A lot of times though this thing gets played fast, and I wonder if Yosho Stefan is going to play it fast, because he is a guy who certainly can play fast. Let's check out Yosho and see what tempo this is. It's faster. This is a pretty standard tempo that you would hear. Oh, here's Bossa Dorado. Okay. Okay, yeah. And Bossa, we'll talk about this when we get into it, but Bossa Dorado has this whole like intro thing that you got to know about it, that happens like almost everybody, I guess everybody that plays it plays this. Well, we'll get into it. Let's see. We were just going to check out Yosho's tempo, so he's not that burning fast with it, but let's find another version by Dorado Schmidt. See if we can find something else. Not Dasa, but Bossa. There we go. Okay. There's Dorado. We want a video though. Oh, okay. Here's the Rosenberg Trio, but we want to see. That's great. Is that Samson? Or I want to find video, you guys. Well, okay, here. Let's watch Marcel. Whoa. This phone video is very pixelated. This is like flip phone video. Okay, here's the intro. All right, I was noodling over. So here's the intro. Well, it starts with Marcel playing the Mission Impossible theme, but listen in. This is in E minor also. So. Okay, now it's on to the solos. But you hear that zhungad, kazhungad, 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 kazhungad. If I was gonna automata poeticize it, that's what I zhungad, kazhungad, 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 kazhungad. So this is in E minor too. I don't know how it got to D minor, but D minor is if you go to Django in June, which you should register, by the way. If you're planning to go, you got to register ASAP if you're planning to get the meal plan or stay on campus. That's just news that I heard from Andrew. I'm supposed to put the word out. But if you play this basically at any jam session or every gig that I've ever done that has done this, pick up jams, whatever, it's always in D minor. I guess unless you're playing with Dorado himself. Let's see if I just do Bossa Dorado. Well, let's check out the Rosenbergs. So the Rosenbergs are a famous family of musicians. Go away. There we go. Yeah, this looks cool. Nice 90s shirts. Kind of very Keith Jarrett.
Thank you.
It's a cool look. Definitely grooves hard, and you can hear the bass a lot. Bass is super driving. Doom, 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 doom. Very neat. Okay. That's an E flat? What? Oh my gosh, you guys. Okay. Well, I was hoping to find one in D. Boom. That's an E flat. And the previous one was an E. So the next one we have to find. It must keep going down at half steps, right? All right. So the melody, which I can show you guys. Let me pull this up. And we'll kind of start going through it little by little. The melody, the chord. Well, now I got to get us into the... So it's going to go, what's going to happen is the guitar player is going to do some sort of arpeggiated thing. I have never figured it out, but it's all over this D minor. This is an introduction that is not written in the tune, but you need to know this. It might be in the Django fake book, actually. Let me see if this is written out in the Django fake book, because that would be good for teaching purposes. If you're interested in the music of Django Reinhardt and you don't have the Django fake book, you should definitely get yourself a copy. Google it. You can find it. Let's see. I'm looking for Bossa Dorado. Yeah, okay, it does. Okay, so check out the first yeah. I think of it usually as especially because the guitar player is going to be doing that, and I have never tried to double that because they're doing all this other strumming stuff, arpeggiated stuff. So usually I just focus on this A to the B flat to the B back to the and I do play that, which is like a break. So really what's written here on this page, I'll post this in the group area, you guys, when I'm done. But this is actually a break. So you don't want to... So silence, and then the melody. I usually do like a blues thing because I feel like that's kind of like what Dorado's doing. And I got to switch my left hand from master back to bass piano because now I'm playing jazz and not kind of music. Okay. So remember I told you that I'm going to come back and do a much better explanation of the accompaniment. I came into this, I didn't do much thinking about how I can improve my accompaniment. I'm used to mostly doing like, what do you call it? With it, I don't play this one solo, and I probably don't play it solo because I don't have like a cool accompaniment pattern that I'm into. But that being said, when I play this with the band, so what I'm doing is I'm doing a broken chord thing. So I take my chord shape. In this case, this is a D minor 6. And the chord, I'll share the lead sheet again in a second. But the chord is D minor on the chart. And I'm breaking it. And when we say that on the keyboard, it means I'm playing some of the chord. Like break doesn't mean that you separate a certain amount of notes. Usually it's either the thumb, like that's a lot of what I do on the accordion is. So I'll play the whole chord and then just the thumb. That works pretty good. If I could get my left hand to be on the 1 and 3. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3. But I'm not going to be able to line that up for today, you guys. But I guess I know what I'm going to practice this week. Cool. Okay. So there's something daga daga diga da diga 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 daga daga da diga daga daga diga daga diga da. My upload rate is slow. Not a great upload rate. Well, I'll look into that. What was I gonna say? Daga daga diga da. Do it with me. All we're doing is saying eighth notes. There's like a little tiny bit of swing in this. I can't tell you how, but there is. It's not exactly straight eighth notes. It's definitely not swing eighth notes, but there's some little like swing vibe in there. Like it's not swing, but it has something. Has a little But all we're saying is the eighth notes. But I want you to copy me. Daga daga diga da da diga daga da daga daga diga da da diga diga ga diga daga diga da da diga. So we're emphasizing the and of 4, and that's when we like have to translate something onto the accordion. It is this kind of like often trying to do literally what the other musician is doing that we're trying to copy doesn't result in the right groove or feeling or vibe or something. So we kind of have to pick different things. I'm going to play their groove again. I'm just going to play on the, let me find one that's in D minor because it's going to be too weird. Bossa Dorado. How about a backing track? That should be in D minor. Dig it. Here we go. Okay. It's a backing track. Oh, they got the intro. This is pretty fast. So in this, jagada kajigada, 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 kajigada. So it's 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2. If I wanted to do a little bit more of that, I was just kind of doing the and of 4. Shagada digada, kadiga daga. Let's see. For that jigada, that is, we feel it as an accent, but in addition to that, it's short. So I'm trying to like think of a release here. It's got to be kind of like that. It's really weird to think about playing staccato right there. Like it's not at all part of my automatic nervous system stuff. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. I'm like kind of giving a bellow accent. Well, I won't force you guys to listen to me comp that, but the broken chords are great when we need to create a lot of subdivisions, a lot of 8th notes or 16th notes or triplets or whatever. It's great to use 2 functions. One, which is what I'm doing here, is breaking the chords up. So literally, like I said, like breaking the chords. Diga, 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 diga. Hey, Pirate Rob. Yeah, Rob plays this tune. It's a great one. And then the other one is like using the bellow for a bellow shake, which I'm not gonna do. So yeah, so that's a great option for that. And I'll in a minute I'll play along with like a backing track or a recording and kind of try this stuff in the right hand and see how it kind of fits. But let's keep going through the tune. So this has, I think next week is the week that I'm going to talk about like the vibe and intensity of gypsy jazz music. But you want to come in and confident on that melody. It's great to like bring it back. It is, the whole vibe has this kind of cool James Bond foreign film music while you're driving. It's very cool. And you want to create mystery in the melody. So it's not just like, you know, forward. It's not really a ballad or anything. But if you come in strong, so I'm trying to kind of come in louder, and then on the next phrases kind of bring it down. So there, we were right here, and I'm putting a fill in. Fill it. If you don't fill it, another musician is. But if you're playing solo, then nobody's going to. So diga di da da, di da di whatever it is. Just even if you just hit the chords. So let's see, proper framing. Do, do, dee, do, dee. So the form of the song is AABA. Oh. So those chords are relatively very simple. You have the one chord, and then you have the 5 of 5, and then you have like a 2-5-1. Sorry, E7. So what I tend to do is usually on the melody, I don't try to play like rhythmic accompaniment, because it's kind of like a little too busy and makes the accompaniment too much for the soloist. I will kick in with some rhythmic accompaniment with a band as they go, but usually not on the melody. But I might do like little hits. So if the melody's going right? So something like that where I'm cognizant of the melody and I'm not trying to fill up the space too much. I want it to breathe, so that way there can be, let me get in the camera frame, so that way there can be growth to the whole arc of the thing. And just one good thing to think about, it's not the most beginner thing, a little bit intermediate and above, is like the first time that we hear a melody, we, meaning like a naive audience, an audience that is sitting and isn't your biggest fan or isn't even a fan of the genre, which is like at least half of the people that come to your concert are probably just like, I want to try some instrumental music. They don't know anything about the intricacies, of your thing, the language, the shared language. So that being said, when we state the melody the first time, it should be not too embellished. It should be clearly stated, obviously stated. It's like introducing the characters of your story, almost like the Peter and the Wolf, where David Bowie's narrating. He's like telling you, this is this character, this is the oboe represents the bird, and the whatever. You want to introduce everybody to the to the concepts very, like, of course, expressively and beautifully, but without too much ornamentation on the deal. And then on the repetitions is where you can get the ornamentation, and it will land so much better for the audience because they'll understand that you're adding this ornamentation, that you're creating variation and embellishment of your deal. Okay, so that's a little bit on comping around it. I tried to sing most of the melody. I think I dropped out on the last day. Let's go over the B section. So you have that's the A section melody, and then the B section does a 2-5-1 to the key of the 4. Lower this guy a little bit here. Yeah. Okay. So B. This is really important because if you're just learning this off of the chart and you're not listening to the recording, you're going to miss some important little hits that happen. So there are these like little hits that the accompaniment should do, or if I'm playing accordion, I can add the accompaniment. You could do that, or even sorry. Not happy with my repetitive thing. Reminds me a lot of like shoro comping and fahal comping a lot. Like if I shed those, like I bet Jamie and Gabe would destroy this with the groove. Totally. But that's the beautiful thing about life is there's always more horizons, more cool shit that we want to do, you know? And we're around people who can do really cool things that we can't. So, okay. Yeah, the chords, like, I think, like, my take on performing this tune a bunch of times, I think a thing that I am reminded of is I don't love this tune. And if I'm going to do a Django gig, I'm probably never going to put a Gypsy Bossa in there because it's just not, it's like the most unaccordion-y of all the things as far as like groove and accompaniment, I think. Or maybe that's just because I haven't heard somebody really knock it out of the park yet. But when I do it, this tune and other tunes similar to it, Força Fora is another Gypsy Bossa. What's the other one? True Blanc Bolero is well, that's a bolero. Why am I putting that in the same? Boom, yeah, that's a different one. But Força Fora and Bossa Dorado, I know there's got to be more Gypsy Bossas. Anyways, they have the ability to feel like they're dragging and kind of like me on stage just feel like everyone's falling asleep. Like it doesn't have the right mojo. It kind of feels like it's like falling asleep along with the audience. And it also has the capacity to feel like too cluttered. So I tend to not do a whole bunch except for when I take a solo. And then I try to channel my inner Ludovic Bayer as far as I can, which is like nowhere near his amazing precision and technicality. But that's him, especially on the melodica or the accordina, is something that I really model myself after. Or I try to like remember, you know, that sound. I might even go to two middle as a. Thank you, Pirate Rob. Yeah, Made for Wesley. Yeah, that's another one for sure. All right, let's crank up this backing track here. Just a a weird group. This is an old Django style. Let's see if we can find another one here. I just wondered if there was another backing track for this. It's because this one says, let's hear what this one feels like with the groove.
1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4.
So they do also the intro. The tune, another, I think, challenging thing about this tune is the A sections don't have much. They have like a little bit of like a harmonic movement, kind of lift and rise, but not very much. The B has a little bit more kind of harmonic thing to help you along, but it's just kind of like going. And I realize this is also the trials and travails of playing with a backing track. Is the backing track does not adjust to your energy at all. It just kind of stays very, very the same. So you're left with these practicing these solos that are hard to mimic rising and falling with other musicians who might follow you. But it's a challenge of the tune, man. It is a challenge of the tune. I try to like cut through. I try to cut through. I think I preferred the bassoon here. I prefer this backing track of all the bands I could hire to play. So I've got, let me just kind of go here. We're thinking of like a D minor. I got a lot of air because I want to cut through. And I'm making these pretty aggressive presses, right? Jacques Mornet would say attack, how you attack the clavier, how you attack the key. You attack, right? So it's not a gentle attack. It's a very assertive attack, we could say. And what that gives us is an assertive sound. Tot, tot, tot. It's the assertive attack on top of the bellows here. And adding some little comping for myself. Nah. No. I should try to get out of the chord comping stuff because that's like kind of cheating. Do, do. It choked a little bit, but it chokes when I don't have the right finger air combination sort of in this lower half of the accordion, especially when I'm pressing. I find the attack can be choked if I'm not sensitive that the attack is at the top of the key. Doom. So on the D minor, I'm thinking these kind of Richard Galliano enclosures. This tune is a little bit more modern. So melodic minor scale would work great on the D minors. It's the one where it's like a D major scale, but the F is a natural. Or a Dorian. So this one, if you're doing the melody, so there is that chord probably has a flat 9 on it, not a natural 9, because of the way the melody is, which means perfect candidate for diminished shapes. All right. Or the harmonic minor scale. Then we have E half diminished, which a wonderful way to think of this is like a G minor. Again, a melodic minor sound on that. Which is a great sound. You know? And then we're on to is that the altered scale? More melodic minor. And then back to then on the bridge you have 2-5-1 to G minor. So you know, it's happening faster, so it's easier to play a little 2-5. And then the E7. So Django has a lot of tunes that he writes, or I guess he didn't write this tune, but in this style. Another way that they create a lot of motion is jumping, bringing stuff up a half step. So you could do that on the E7, and then it's a 2-5 back to the A section. What do I? I'm not really sure what I'm hearing there. Okay, now, as I frequently like to say, a great way to get familiar with the changes is just to practice the roots. So you're just trying to solo, and the only thing I'm allowed to play in each measure is the root of the chord that's supposed to happen in that time. I want you guys to see the bellow. So this exercise lets me work on my time. It lets me work on internalizing the sound of the most important part of each chord, which is the root, you know. And it really helps me work on my like phrasing, which is the result of the time that I'm saying. Let's see, 1, 2, and 3, and 4. I choked it. I cheated. Boned. And then from there, you can work up into more stuff. But I think it very much is true that we want to spend more of our practice time on phrasing and rhythm and what we can do with the notes that we have on our fingers. The majority of our time, so 51 or more % of our time shedding improvisation, work on like how are we using what is under our fingers, right? The classic trap improvisers who are new and getting going get stuck in is just more and more possibilities of notes. Well, you could play this chord, you could play this scale, you could play this lick, you could do that, you could do this substitution over it, you could do this, the other thing. And it's like, okay, let me learn that in my fingers and let me do this exercise. But the actual work of like taking a thing, like, okay, I know how to play the arpeggio of the chord. Maybe you're choosing to play this D minor as a minor 6. I've got that under my fingers. I've got a scale, right? Well, it's how do you use that? How do you get that out? And it's like you have to practice saying it and different possibilities. So if it's the arpeggio, you know, you can just think in your head or put on a looper or something. And then just work on your phrasing. And I'm singing stuff that's not necessarily in that arpeggio, but it gets your fingers and your concepts, those like short notes or long notes, you know, connected. And that really gets your style going. It's so important to work on your phrasing and your time more than just the notes of your improvisation, or more than constantly adding. You know, you do want to be constantly adding vocabulary and licks that people are playing and more involved stuff, but more of the time should be spent on how are you saying and playing all that stuff. And as accordion players, we got to focus on the air that we're making to support it, and then how our fingers are pressing to make the articulations and energy and stuff. And like on this groove, you really have to be very assertive and with it, because it's like it is both relaxed and sort of on the front side of the beat, in a way that like maybe a Brazilian bossa nova is not. You know, it's kind of definitely more on the back side or the middle. I feel like the bass is in the middle. Boop, boop, boom, boop, 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 boom, 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 boom. But then in this style there's that forwardness, which is that kind of like attacked upbeat on the end of 2 and the end of 4. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1. Okay. All right. So the Gypsy Bossa. And then okay, so then the way that it ends, we need to listen to a couple endings also, because to play this tune is also to know that it ends very similar to the way it began, and you got to know that, you know, or you have to learn it. So let me see if I can find. Let's go back to. Doot. I want to go here. That's where I want to go. Okay. And then Bossa Dorado. Okay, so we call this the head out. The head is the melody of the tune, the theme, as they say in France, the theme. And this is the theme going out. So I call this the jazz sandwich. You have the melody is one bread, and the melody is the other bread, and inside the meat is all the solos. So most of your sandwich is the stuff that's in the middle, hopefully. Unless it's a ballad, then it's got a big ciabatta bun. Was it Seven Nation Army? That's cute. That's worth stealing. I was trying to find somebody that does the classic ending to it. Let's see if it's on this record from what, 96? Wow, I've never listened to that, and there's drums on it. Blasphemous. Let's see how the Rosenberg trio ended. Okay, yeah. So so it goes back to this thing that we had before, the little James Bond, which is you take a minor chord and you move the fifth. That sort of thing. So you want to go out on, you know, and so it's going to be that. Once, and then a second time. And then a D minor chord. And I think that went to a G7 real quick at the end. which is sometimes a fun thing to do. All right. So, Gypsy Jazz Bossa 1.0. I promise to return to this subject, but it's a good one, and it's on the tier 1 list for the Django and June camp. So it's one that's like approachable. You know, it's not super fast. And the weirdest things is that I would say, like, the chords actually are relatively simple. The weirdest thing is that it's minor chord harmonies, which are when we're learning chord progressions and stuff as beginners, the minor key harmonies have certain things that you need to do to them, and so they're a little bit more complex. Usually it takes a minute for people who are newer to chords or this style to get those minor 2-5-1s and stuff under your hands, but it's a good reason to. So I didn't really talk about chord shapes, but I would just keep them simple, you know. Keep them close position, D minor 6, E7, or if you could do a rootless E7 flat 9, which looks like a G sharp diminished, and then with the root E minor 7 flat 5, A7, or a rootless A7 flat 9, which looks like a diminished chord, and then back to D minor 6 or D minor 7, and rootless with the 9 or not. And that'll get you through. Talked about, like, in closing, on improvising, some scales that you might want to check out, arpeggios you might want to check out, and then in closing stuff, in closing those chord tones, I think is a very nice thing. Kind of the vibe and the intensity, like how you want to be assertive, as is true in, I guess, all things, but go. Ba 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 bum. So I do a lot of these enclosures. So I'm thinking of like that chord tone. Yeah. And then we talked about the intro and the outro, and I talked about, you know, I think I covered everything here, guys. Here's a tune I've been working on. What do you think about that? Landing with the flat 9, should it be that, or should it be unaltered? I don't know. Sorry. There. Dang it. Oh, because on C. That last one is like it's like either an F minor, really like a B diminished over a C. can't make that leap too fast. Bodukaka. Sorry. This is a song that I guess I know from the Live at the Sands Frank Sinatra record with Count Basie's band, arrangements by Quincy Jones. It's a great record. Early 60s, I think. Maybe mid 60s. But otherwise, it's kind of a douchebag song, honestly. Like, it's not the song's fault. It's like, I don't know. It's one that everybody knows, you know, and no fault to them. But a thing that I notice nowadays is when I go to karaoke, there's always like a drunk ass extroverted college kid that sings this song. So that Gen Z. I think that Gen Z knows this song. It might be the only swing song that they know, but they know it. And I wonder if it was like in Shrek or something. Like, I don't know. Anyways, but I'm glad to have it starting to get in my repertoire. It's not that hard of a song at all. And the chords are cool too. They go down around the circle of fourths, circle of fifths, kind of looping around. Yeah, it's a good one. Let's see. That. Yeah, they're all good one. I'm also, the last thing I guess to share is I'm trying to get my speed up in the left hand, and it is not fast yet. And I can't, first of all, I can't keep it going. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. That's not even like, that's up, but that's not even fast for competent professional jazz players. But I was thinking, okay, what's like a cool up tune? And it was like Sheik of Araby. My left hand is already getting tired. The Sheik of Araby. I don't really know the lyrics. Ba-dum, 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 ba-da-da-da-do-da-da-do-da-da, da-da-da-do-da-da-do-do. Ba-ding, da-ding, da-ding, da-da-da-da-dum, da-dum, da-dum, da-da, da-da-do-dee. See, okay, so, and what I can tell happens is, it's just, and I'm trying to just like do it, you know. Sometimes people ask me, how do you play fast? And you play fast by playing fast. You know, it's like you just like try to sprint, you know, to use a metaphor. Like just like sprint until you trip. And at least on the accordion, you don't skin your knee or sprain your wrist or anything. But you just go, you know. And it's like, I think that there's definitely endurance there, endurance of the psychology. Like and endurance literally of the, you know, the muscles. Rubenstein said, we are athletes of the small muscles, right? Very true. So I'm just trying to get that going, and it's not cool yet at all, but that's okay, because I know what I'm doing. I trust my process. I hear a whole tone scale thing. What was I working on this? I was working on a harmonized thing. I'm trying to get more left hand movements. I was working on what tune was that? It was really cool. I had a voicing where it was a 7th chord. It was like this. Like where I had the note that was in the left hand was not in the right hand. It was like a something like that. And I came up with I could do 2 here. Because like whole tone scale, you have whole tones every 2 columns in the accordion. But that winds up on G. Next one would be G sharp. So that's D, E, F sharp. So I was like, you get 4 whole tones real easy this way. But then where do you get the other 2? You need a B flat C. Should I go to C like that? I had it worked out. And that will be where. Yeah. So I also work on fast, just trying to get fast, you know? I wonder how long it'll take me to get that all together. But yeah. Cool. So I hope you guys are out there chatting and practicing and listening to accordion music. You know, here's one that I sent to some friends. We'll go out on this one. I have my hat on because my hair is so gross from all the drywall dust. It's time to wash it, but I'm like, it's just going to get drywall dusty again. Anyway, I just looked at the bathroom. I think I'm going to be able to put a coat of paint on, which is cool. Oh. All right. So, Joao Frade. Let's go out on this beautiful piece here, you guys. Is it called Improvisation 1 or something? This thing is killer, man. All of the stuff. And I don't think I watched. There's no like, I don't know if it's like an improvisation or an idea or if it's a tune with a name. He has a lot of music like this, similar to this, and some that were up and then taken down. Some really cool ones outside. There used to be 2 outside, and then one of them got taken down, and then there was one kind of on a hill with some wind and stuff. And then I haven't found that one in a little while, but he's just a phenomenal Portuguese accordion player. And I don't think he is using freebase. I think he's using like higher register switch and still Stradella. I could be wrong though. If anybody thinks otherwise, let me know. We're going to go out with this. I'll be back here next Tuesday. Hope you're all great. Thanks for letting me share so much of my stuff with you and this cool Gypsy Bossa, Bossa Dorado. And go to risingreed.com. You're welcome, Birdie. Cool. I'm going to keep playing, but I just got to say, like, of course, his right hand is phenomenal, but his left hand, his concept is like a very both hands are equally spectacular and kind of important for these counter lines and interplay of melody. Patterns happen across the two hands in multiple melodies, and he's got like multiple melodies in the same hand. And just like, how do you make it sound so clear? The inner lines sound so great. That part we just passed. But his left hand is so driving. The other cat that has a similar sound, like to me, like has a similar sound and just such a cool groove sense and time and drives with his left hand, is Lionel Suarez, who and they both kind of play like that a button accordion that's not like a super muted sound. It's like kind of more buzzy and more woody, I guess. Woody, buzzy. Anyways, sorry to interrupt you, Joao. Hope to see you next week.